how karma is created, because we are in the time of karmic settlement. Our goal is to have karmic settlement and then go back to our home, right? That's the goal we have, or you have some other goal? So we've been given the aim that you settle your karmic accounts and go back home. So now we must understand how karmic accounts are created and how karmic accounts are settled. So the main three methods through which karmic accounts are created is through karma done through body, mind and wealth. So whatever you do through the body, who does through the body? So it is the soul who is doing karma through the body. So because the soul is doing karma through the body, so when the soul does some karma, so it is karma created by the soul through actions performed by the body. Yes, I remember, there was this one brother, and when I gave him the course, Baba's course, that I am a soul and I am not the body, then he said, this is a very good thing. You can kill and you can say that, it's the body that killed, not I. So he said, I didn't kill, I am the soul sitting. The body lifted the knife and killed. So this is why then I told him, half knowledge is very dangerous. And I said, don't go by half knowledge. I have just told you that the soul is separate from the body, but the second law is, whatever the soul does through the body, that becomes the soul's karma. Yes, so it is not like, somewhere when people started interpreting the Gita, because I'm sure it was written in good faith and all, but somewhere there was a misinterpretation when they said that, in the Gita it is written that the Pandavas are already dead, the Kauravas are already dead. So why not kill them? So, there's this message where it is said that, it is interpreted like that Shri Krishna is saying that ye sab mare pade hain. So they are already dead. So even if you kill them, it's okay. Yes, so they say in the Gita like that. But Baba says no. Even if, the soul is eternal and the body is perishable, when you kill the body, then you are hurting the soul, because the soul is attached to the body. And you are creating a vikarma, because you, the soul, are doing an action driven by anger. So, violence, anger. When the soul comes from a place of violence and anger, that is creating karma, that is creating negative karma. So this is something we need to understand, because there is this misinterpretation that happens sometimes, and some vested interest would misinterpret it like that. So Baba says, when the soul does a karma through the body, that's the karma of the soul. And the good and bad, the residue of that karma has to be borne by that soul. Yes? And then it's not just killing, or, not confined to just killing. Because now we know how do we create vikarma. Whenever you do something, whether you speak, you listen, you eat, you do anything, through the body, any action through the body which is motivated by vices and body consciousness. So, maybe sometimes you're being very sweet to somebody. So you're speaking very sweetly, please give me a seat. But that's coming from a place of, selfish interest. And what happens if that person doesn't comply? Then you start raising your voice and abusing that person. So, will that sweetness in the first place be called good karma? No, because that's coming from a place of selfishness. And how do you know it's coming from a place of selfishness? Because when that thing that you wanted is not happening, then you start behaving differently. So that's how you know it's coming from a place of selfishness. So, altruistic actions, sometimes, Baba says, behave as you are, not because of what you want or not because of how they are or who they are. So, what is ego-based behavior? Ego-based behavior is when I am behaving nicely with you because of who you are. Yes, so if I see you are a person with position and power and I am nice to you, then what is that called? That is called ego-based behavior. Yes, because I am behaving with you and my behavior is dictated by who you are, not by who I am, not by the realization that I am a soul and my quality is to behave properly, but by the fact that you are a person of position, so I will behave nicely with you. So that is selfish behavior. That's coming from a place of selfishness or ego. So whenever our behaviors, our actions, our words, our listening, seeing, anything is motivated by vices. So sometimes people ask us, is seeing the news important? Is seeing the news body consciousness? Or is watching a video body consciousness? But if you have to check the intention. So are you watching the news so that you know what's going on in the world and you hold that in your awareness and then remember Baba so that the pain of those souls are alleviated? Or are you watching the news just to know that what's going in the world and feel like you know everything? Or what is the intention? So whenever there is the intention which is driven by lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, fear, jealousy and other vices, then we would call that vikarma. Okay, so seeing, hearing, talking, eating, walking, exchange, anything you do through the body can either be good karma or vikarma based on what it is driven by. Sometimes you can be very straight, you can put your point, you don't even try to be extra sweet, you're very straight with your words, but it's coming from a place of truth, then that is good karma. But when you're speaking very sweet words, but that's coming from a place of maybe some selfish interest or ego, then that is called vikarma. So when your actions are motivated by who they are, or your actions is motivated by what are you going to get from them, then that is called vikarma. But if your actions are motivated by who you are and you know that I am Baba's child and I have to be sweet, I have to be nice because that's my nature. I can't help it. Can you help being yourself? Nobody can help being themselves, right? So you are who you are. So if you've realized yourself and you're speaking, seeing, thinking, everything from that standpoint, that is good karma. So Baba says that you can create good and bad both karma through the body. So the soul creates good and bad karma through the body. Then there is good and bad karma created through the mind. So most people in this world are unaware that you create bad karma through the mind also. Yes, so you always think that whatever you are thinking in your privacy is none of other people's business. Yes, and you think that the mind creates thoughts and feelings. So you feel that you can create whatever thought, whatever feeling you want. But whenever you create a thought or a feeling in your mind, that's the creation of the soul. And depending on whether that thought and feeling is based on Shrimat or Ravan Mat, yes, that makes it a good karma or a bad karma. So let's say Baba says, create this thought that I am a peaceful soul. And you create that thought. That is thought based on Shrimat. So that is good karma. But again, on Ravan Mat, you create this thought that I am bigger than this person and this person is not respecting me. So you are not saying anything, you are not saying anything to that person, but in your mind you are creating these thoughts and feelings. So that's bad karma, that's vikarma. And do you see that people these days are suffering because of their own minds? Yes, do you see that they are suffering because of their own minds? And I told you yesterday also in the class, and I saw a really old, somebody who's very physically old. I saw that person and he's practically bedridden, but he has all the facilities to be taken care of. So, medical facilities and food and comfort and everything is there. He's well taken care of. But if you ask him or you observe him, you find that that soul is very miserable. And why is that soul so miserable? Because of the way they think. And they are thinking about what happened 30 years ago, and they are thinking about what happened 25 years ago, and they are thinking about what they want tomorrow which is not happening, and they are irritated about why it is not happening. So all of this stuff is making you miserable. And then what happens? If you create thoughts and feelings, then those thoughts and feelings slowly become attitude, and then they become actions, they become habits, they become your personality. And I always say this, and I have observed this, that everything starts with a spiritual problem. So the truth behind everything is that when the soul loses its power, then the body takes over, right? So it starts as a spiritual problem because the soul is drained. So when you come into the Kal Chakra, into the cycle of time, then the soul, because it keeps performing actions and taking birth and rebirth, so the soul slowly starts losing its power. So basically, at the root of all problems, you understand that there's a spiritual problem. You understand that, right? So you understand that these days, whatever problems you see in the world, they arise from a spiritual place. So every soul is depleted, and weak souls perform bad actions, and bad actions have bad consequences. So that is the method. So when a soul is weak, you can't help being bad because your buddhi is not working, right? So when you're weak, you basically can't see the difference between good and bad. So then you start performing all your actions which you think are right, because from that place where ego has taken over, or lust has taken over, or greed has taken over, you think that you are right, because when somebody is trapped, they can only have very limited vision. So when Maya traps us, we have very limited vision, so we can't see beyond ourselves. So we feel that this is the right thing to do. So do you understand that somebody who's fighting and quarreling, they are not thinking that I'm doing something wrong. They are thinking that I'm right in fighting because this is my right and this is how I take it. So Baba says, even if you have a right, why do you have to fight? You can take your right by not fighting, by not creating any vikarma. But the world doesn't know that way. So what happens is, when Maya traps us, our vision gets very limited. So then we start doing things which are called bad actions. And weak souls perform bad actions, and bad actions have bad consequences. So this is why spiritual problem is the first problem. Then slowly, gradually, the spiritual problem changes into a psychological problem. Yes? So spirituality is very connected with psychology and very connected with physiology. So first it's a spiritual problem, then it becomes a psychological problem, because you are always thinking. So you're creating that same thought patterns and that same pattern of feeling. So what happens is, your brain, it starts getting that message, and then that brain gets wired like that. So do you know how our brain works? So just like when you release a water pipe into a garden, and every day you allow the water to flow from one end to the other through a certain route, then what happens? The route gets deepened and deepened, right? And then the water makes its own channel, and you feel there's a pathway that is created by the flow of the water. Similarly, when you engage in repeated patterns of thought and feelings, then they create a pathway in the brain, and our neurons and everything have a pathway. So they create a pathway there, and then when you go and see the doctor, he will tell you it's a disease of the brain. So they will say it's a mental illness. Mental illness means something in your brain. Now, why is that happening in the brain? Because first we didn't heal spiritually. So we kept creating those thoughts and feelings, and now they are etched in the brain. And then in the brain, when it's there, still you don't care, do you? So there are people who come and I ask them, what drove you here? So sometimes people tell me that there was this one sister, and she told me that when I started getting panic attacks, so when my body started collapsing, then I approached the center. So I said, but could you feel changes in how your brain was working? So earlier, could you notice that you were getting slower and you were affected by feelings and by states of mind that you were not used to? So she said, yeah, I observed that I am getting anxious, but I thought it's okay, it will go away. But when I started getting panic attacks, then I thought that I should do something about it. So, we don't understand a spiritual problem, and even when it's a mental issue, we don't understand. But when that brain starts getting reflected in the body, yes, so when again that brain has its repercussions on the body, and there is some disease or something like a panic attack or something like you can't pull yourself out of the bed or something like that, then people get an alarm that okay, I have to do something about it. But where did it all start? It starts with thought and feeling. The thought and feeling that I create in the privacy of my mind. And it starts there and it comes up to this. So I have to be very, very careful that I take care of my thought and feeling, because that is my karma and it makes me suffer very badly. So, and basically all physical suffering, whether it is physical of the body or relationships or finance or anything, it's all coming from these three types of actions that we perform through the body, mind and wealth. So I have to be very careful about what thoughts I create in the mind. So you may think that you are right and keep on creating negative thoughts, low vibration thoughts. Do you do that? Yes. What if somebody is coming and in a very unfair manner, apparently, they are defaming you or attacking you, or they are telling things about you which are complete lies? What would you do in that situation? What would you do? Would you be peaceful, or would you start getting bitter and angry, and would you also start thinking about how could they do this and how dare they, and you also start thinking about how to give it back to them? So if you start doing all of that, that will cause you a lot of damage. So you be peaceful, remember Baba, and then talk to Baba and ask, what can I do in this situation? And then you will find a way. And I tell you, only Baba makes us find a way. Nobody else can make us find a way. And what I have observed about the world, if you are in trouble, everybody who is apparently trying to help you are trying to exploit the situation in some other way. So whether it's the departments or anything, you take your problem to them, they will also try to exploit that situation and get something from you. So Baba always says that in this Kaliyugi world, there is no king. यहाँ कोई राजा नहीं है. So when there is a king and a praja, then whatever happens to the praja goes to the king, and the king takes the responsibility of settling the matter for the praja. But now it's the praja ruling over the praja. So nobody has this swaman that I have to help or I have to make something better. Only Baba's children have this swaman also, if they have worked towards it. Otherwise, nobody is a giver. So you must understand that when you are in trouble, don't go to any human. Just stay calm. Don't do anything against Shrimat. Shrimat is our borderline, it's our boundary. Never cross that. Never think, speak or act or conduct yourself in any manner which is against Shrimat. Stay within that boundary, and then you remember Baba, and when you remember Baba, your buddhi will be so good that you will understand what to do. And Baba will also give you help to come out of the situation. But you must honor Baba's Shrimat. Don't cross that line. Don't create bitter thoughts, thoughts of worry, nothing. I am Baba's child and I am calm and very peaceful, very loveful inside. No hard feelings, nothing. And this is how you deal with a situation, because whenever you create thoughts and feelings which are against Srimad, that is your karma. And then that karma you will have to pay for later on. So be very careful about karma through the mind. And then karma through wealth. That's also a very big one, because whenever you give your money to somebody, they will do something with it, right? Money will be spent. And when money is spent, then you understand that if a person is vicious and they are spending money against Shrimat, obviously they will spend against Shrimat because they don't know what Shrimat is or they don't care. So when they spend it on stuff which is not allowed in Shrimat, then their sin will also become yours because you gave them the money. And there is this thing where I've seen this culture, where everybody will ask you to, give money to somebody just because you are in trouble. They will tell you that, you just give your money to somebody and they will help you. But that will increase your karmic account rather than in decreasing it. And all troubles are there because of karmic accounts. So if you increase the karmic account, it's not helping. So you must understand, never give your money to a patit soul. Patit means somebody who is not embracing purity. Yes, somebody who is not following Shrimat that Baba is giving. If you give your money to that soul, then that becomes a vikarma. And this is a very, very, very subtle law. Yes, and Baba says, even if the children at home, they are also not following Baba and not following Baba's Shrimat, then you give your money to them also, it creates a negative karmic account. And it is very important that we understand this law. I'll give you a very simple example. So, there are many times when people think that, and Baba today says that you have to be free from attachment to stop yourself from making this kind of paap or doing this kind of sin. And why do you have to be free from attachment? Because where there is attachment, there is fear. Where there is attachment, there is fear. And fear makes you perform wrong actions. So, even when you know everything, that this is vikarma, this is not to be done. If you are in attachment, if you are attached to somebody and then there is an attack to it, you want to save that thing, then you will act out of fear and give your money to somebody who doesn't deserve it, who will create paap out of your money. And Baba says, if you have attachment to relationships, attachment to your body, attachment to any possession, then you will not look up to Baba. Whenever there is an attack, you will try to spend some money and solve the problem. Yes, you will try to give and take. But all that give and take will create vikarma. So, does somebody pay a bribe happily? No, they don't pay a bribe happily. But Then people will say you pay a bribe when you are in problem. No, you pay a bribe when you are in fear, not in trouble. Because what do you expect in Kali Yuga? In Kali Yuga, there will be trouble. But if you are attached, there will be fear. And if there is fear, then your money will be spent in such a manner that it will create vikarma. And when there is vikarma created, then you are not helping the situation, you are worsening the situation. And I understand that what I am talking about is so deep, it's not very easy to understand. But I will give you an example. There was this brother, and his son was into, this drinking and smoking and all of this stuff, eating out all the time and spending money unscrupulously. And then the parents had come, the mother and father, and they told me what to do. So I said, you stop that, it's not doing good to the child. So he said that we tried doing that, but the child says that if you stop all of this, then I will feel that you are taking away something from me, and I will not love you anymore, and I might even run away from home. So, they said that, what if he runs away? So I said, okay, so what is the other alternative? So he said, we can't stop giving him all of that. So you see that child is getting wasted by what he is eating and drinking and whatever he is doing. But that parent cannot stop funding the child because he has the fear that the child will run away. Yes, so do you understand that money is even spoiling the child? But the fear that the child will run away is not able to, so because of that fear, the parents are not able to even discern that what they are doing is not the right thing to do. So this is why, if you have attachment, then there will be fear, and when there is fear, you can't think right, and then you misuse your money. Misuse your money means you give it, you spend your money, and the person you're spending it on, giving it to, they engage in activities and food and drink and whatever, which is against Srimad. Yes, and then you are, what are you doing? You are deepening the karmic debit cycle. So, the vicious cycle is in operation where your vikarma is making you even more liable to, difficult situations in the future. So, Baba says that always stay within the boundary of Srimad. Never give your money where it is misused, where it is not used according to Srimad. And Baba says that Brahma Baba set the example that he gave all his money to a trust of 5 sisters. And why a trust of 5 sisters? Not any sisters, but sisters who are following Srimad and sisters who are using the money for what Baba says. So, Baba says that you must spend your money or give your money to somebody who uses it in the yajna, uses it for purposes that Baba is asking you to use it for, not for other stuff. And Baba says, I don't take anything, I'm a giver, but I stop you from misusing it. And Baba says, I'm directing you that use your money to create spiritual strength, in this seva where souls are getting empowered. not in spending, which is disempowering everybody. So, these days, whatever money is being spent and whatever is being bought is disempowering the soul, right? Because it is increasing the ego and the greed and the lust and the attachment, and it is draining them of their energy. So this is why Baba says that, and what happens if you buy a third car after 2 cars? When you don't need them, it only increases your ego, doesn't it? Yes, because anyways you don't need it. So you need 1 car, you buy it. You need 2, you buy it. But if you don't need it, when you buy the third, it's only increasing your ego. Yes, whenever there is a lot of money, what are you spending it on? See, after food, what is there? It is drinks and drugs and this and that. Otherwise, what do you spend it on? So every extra, rupee is always spent on creating vikarma. So this is why Baba says, you must understand that I'm a trustee, and remove your attachment, because attachment will always tell you that my money belongs to this one and that one and the other, who are all patit, who are using it for things that Baba asks us not to use it for. And Baba says, if you give it to patit, then your karmic account will increase. But when you have attachment, and when you don't think you are a trustee, you think this is my money, and this is my child, and this is my friend, and my colleague, and my wife, and my husband, then you keep giving it, right? And that is what creates a negative karmic account. So Baba says that be very careful of the karma you create through wealth, because just like I am a soul and the body belongs to me, the mind belongs to me, the wealth also belongs to me. And when I use it properly, then I create sukarma, and when I use it on Ravan Mat, I am creating vikarma. But the most important thing is being attachment free, free of fear, and thinking of yourself as a trustee. Okay, Om Shanti.